Welcome to Black Business News Show with Dr. Linda Mitchell. Today's health topic is pineapple, apple, and chlorophyll sea moss in our fresh cold pressed juice. I chose this particular product of ours today because the sea moss in this juice is amazing. It's going to give you energy. It's going to give you minerals. It's going to bring you alive again. All right. So if you're having any fatigue, any tiredness, feeling sluggish, you want this juice. This is our pineapple, apple, chlorophyll juice, fresh cold press with sea moss in it. Let me tell you something. When people walk up to our table, when we're at vending events and they see that it's green, they don't want to try it. But after they try it, they buy it. Okay? They buy it because it helps with your gut, first of all. The chlorophyll helps to deodorize your colon. Yes, it does. So does the pineapple, fiber rich, and so do the apples. And it tastes delicious. It's kid friendly and it's adult friendly. Our pineapple apple chlorophyll juice. You can find it on www.sweetheartmitchellcollection.com. Get your bottle today.
I am Black business. From the moment I wake until the time I sleep. Yes, I am Black business. I am Black business. Tell me, are you Black business? I am Black business. Do you support Black businesses? Listen, I support Black business because I am Black business. Black Business Expo. One of the largest business showcases in the history of Black business in the world. The world! Sign up today at www.blackbusinessexpousa.com or call 919-308-9090. I am Black business.
Welcome to the Black Business News Show. I am Dr. Linda Mitchell. Good evening, business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and corporations. I am your host tonight. The Black Business Network is a 24-hour business network showcasing Black businesses, business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders worldwide. We have speakers in North Carolina, London, Singapore, Africa, Japan, and cities all over the United States. The Black Business Network is a global community sharing its business knowledge to empower, inspire, and educate businesses about business. Tonight, my guest is Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton. Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton has championed education from kindergarten through college. Following in her parents' footsteps, who were both educators, she thoroughly enjoys teaching and is grateful for the opportunity to help students of all ages discover their purpose, uncover their gifts and talents, and expand their worldview. Dr. Boone Thornton believes that learning is a reciprocal process that creates a natural, interactive exchange of ideas, visions, and creativity. And she is so right about that. It produces a unique opportunity for the teacher and the learner to extend personal boundaries, create new constructs, and experience the vulnerability and strengthen their human spirit. Dr. Boone Thornton is an associate chair of undergraduate human services program and tenured professor at St. Leo University, SLU. Her published book series, Transforming Your Reality, Removing Your Mask, is a book and chapters and journal articles that reflect her interest in teaching, learning, and mental health. Dr. Boone Thornton has worked in the field of mental health for over 25 years and utilizes her knowledge and expertise to serve, mentor, teach, and coach others. She has served as a keynote speaker and presented at conferences and workshops across the US and internationally. Tonight, our topic is mental health in the small business. Please welcome Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Michelle. How are you?
Oh, I am wonderful. Just basking in this opportunity to be here on this platform with you.
I'm so happy you're here. You just don't know. All week, I just been buzzing like a bumblebee. Waiting for our show tonight, talking to everyone about it. And, I know so many small business owners that can use the information that we're going to be sharing tonight. And so I'm just so blessed and so honored to have you on the show. So let's get right into it. I want you to start by sharing your version of your story. Why mental health? What made you get into mental health? And 25 years, that is a wealth of experience. What's your story?
Well, I, was just kind of just living life, going on with my every day. And I have always been one who has studied other people, just trying to figure out what makes this person great, what makes this person successful, what makes this person not successful. And so when I got a chance, opportunity to go to college, that is where I focused. And along my collegiate journey, I had an opportunity to do a field placement. Okay. And I waited to the last minute. And then the field placement I got was not the one I wanted, but God knew what I wanted and needed. Okay. And so I ended up working at a residential treatment facility for sex offenders, male sex offenders, ages 7 through 17. And this gave me an opportunity to kind of get out of my comfort zone, because, we got to step out of our comfort zones to grow sometimes, and just see both sides, the holistic perspective of it, how things started, the different diagnoses, this and that. So I really got interested in that, went on and pursued my master's, did in-home, which meant I did mental health, not only in the community and residential setting, but I did them in individuals' home. We served them there. And I just started thinking about this mask we wear, because when I would start working with families, I would go in and say, they're fine. They don't need any services. But about a week or two later, the mask started coming on.
Yeah.
Behaviors started popping out. And this one was fussing at this one. It was like, whoa. I was like, why do we mask all of the emotional stuff? And it's because we've been taught to do it. We've been raised to mask our feelings. We've been raised to ignore them. You're going to be all right. Everything's going to be okay. And so that started the interest.
Wow. So when I think about masking, I think about my childhood, and I think about my mom, who set the temperature of the house. Okay. When I came through that door, whatever she was feeling, I had to feel, even though it may not have been what I wanted to feel, if you will. A mother of 8 children, single mother on top of that, she operated in survival a lot of the times. So I quickly learned that whatever I was feeling, I couldn't feel it. If I was excited, I had to bring it down a couple notches, because mama wasn't feeling that right now. That's too much. That's too much excitement.
Absolutely. And you said a key word, Linda, survival. Because some of us of a certain age, we were parented to survive. We had to survive our environments. Our parents brought up, they had to be tough. We had to be tough. There were things you just had to deal with on your own. Nobody's going to stop and explain it to you and hold your hand and kumbaya and all of that. So that's how we were brought up, to survive, not really to succeed, but to survive. And it was the parenting method that they knew, And it was the parenting method that we received. And so we have been surviving with everything going on masked up. And society has reinforced that, okay? Because there's something called toxic positivity. The other day, a friend of mine came in talking about really struggling, talking about how, her mom has Alzheimer's and she's in this part of the sandwich generation. So she has young kids and she has her parents that she's taken over. And the son was just diagnosed with autism. And so she was talking and the lady said, wow, but at least you have your health and your strength. So that pain that she was feeling, that struggle was immediately tapped out. It was ignored. And people do it a lot. Well, you're going to be all right. Well, at least you got your house burned down and everything else. But at least we do it. We do it as society. All we really want to see are the positive, great images. If somebody says, oh, how you doing? And you start going on about how you really doing, they're
run
walking off. They're going to run. They're going to run.
But they really don't want to know.
Really? But I mean, that's just how we are. And we mask so much. And this season is not the season to mask at all. I think that's why we're seeing such a mental health crisis. And it's like we're in crisis everywhere you look, on college campuses, in the grocery store, everywhere. And this is pretty much why.
Michelle, in your 25 years, have you ever seen it as heightened? The topic of mental health, has it been as heightened and talked about as much as it is being talked about now?
Well, one of the reasons it's talked about is because we have technology. And so everybody's right there on the scene to show everything. The other reason is that some of the stigma has gone down, not a lot, but some. And then we are coming out of a period of isolation. And so we've been isolated due to the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we all experienced emotional trauma. For those 2 years, there was death, there was loss, there was grieving, there was everything. And so now we're coming out of that. And we're still masked. Many of us have not dealt with a lot of the trauma that we experienced during the pandemic. And for some folks, the pandemic is not over. I mean, COVID is still out there. The flu is out there. Respiratory virus is out there. It's still going on.
It sure is. And we experience it regularly with our health and wellness business because our clients are still calling us with COVID to get products that can help them boost their immune system. So, we're coaching them through that process. And some people think COVID is gone, but it's still actively, attacking people's immune systems. And so I want to talk about our topic tonight because it's a really near and dear topic to my health and also to my business. As a small business owner, mental health is really important, having a healthy mental healthy state of mind. And, when I got into starting my business, Michelle, I had no idea the many hats that I would have to wear in order to be successful and to be thriving and to be able to put my oxygen mask on first, if you will, and manage my self-care. So I show up walking the talk to the clients and customers that are coming to us for support. That is so important for me to be an example of what health looks like in the mind, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually on all four levels. So can you let's get this conversation started about mental health in the small business.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you what, and you just described it perfectly. We as small business owners are always giving. We're feeding, we're leading. And guess what? We are depleted.
Yeah.
We are so depleted and empty. We are not being fed by anything because one, we don't have the time. You just told me how busy you were. And so because you are operating from a state of depletion, you're already mentally challenged and struggling. I mean, you're struggling, and it's not anything you're doing.
Right.
It's just the way it is. I tell owners that, you're the leader. I mean, the organization can't be extraordinary without an extraordinary leader or people. Okay. And the people have to embody the mission. And so if everybody's depleted, because they may not be the leader, but they could be depleted in their own environment. And so you got a group of depleted people working, but you show up masked, looking the part, ready to lead, no doubt, no worry. And so that's where the masking comes in. The Stylistics wrote a song back in 1971. I might be dating myself. People make the world go round.
Oh my God, I play that song all the time on my TikToks and my Facebook posts. It's so real what they saying.
It's so real. The other day, I just stopped and listened to the words, and I was like, wow, they were in some of my classrooms, because it is just that real. They really do. And if you are the person leading everything and you are depleted, that's a problem. That's a real problem, because nobody's feeding you. I always tell people in leadership that you need a coach. And they were like, wait a minute. I got this and I got that and I got this. But I found, just in what I'm doing from my platform, that when I tried to do it by myself, I was so drained. I was so tired. I was just like a little hamster on a wheel, running and just waking up, checking box and moving stuff from one list to the next list, and then highlighting it over here and moving it back over here. Nothing was happening, Linda. Nothing was really happening. I was wearing myself down mentally and physically. And I know what you're saying when you're saying, we are health products. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, everybody really needs health products because we are so depleted. So you have what is actually needed, but we have to start really finding ways to feed ourselves. Even if that means we have to leave the circle that we're in and move to another one, where we can be fed some kind of way by a coach or some kind of way. You have to replenish what's being taken out, and not just physically, because people are doing that now. We're healthier as a society, but emotionally, mentally, we're drained.
So what does that look like? Give me an example, because I think when you said that, the thought that came to me was, I don't want to be the smartest one in the room all the time. I want to surround myself with people that are mentors, that are already accomplishing some of the things that I desire to accomplish. So because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay. If they're doing it and they're successful, it helps me to be that much more successful without bumping my head that many times by learning from them. So what does that look like when you change your circle and go to another circle? You don't want to leave your good friends behind. You don't want to leave your loyal family members behind. So can you just provide some clarity on that?
Well, it's not necessarily that you leaving them behind, but you're just going to move to another circle and take on a different role. So in the circle that you're in now, all of those loyal friends and family members are draining the life out of you. You can't sustain and you can't grow in that circle. So you have to move to the circle where you've seen people accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Okay. We are in a season of collaboration. We've been isolated for 2-3 years. Now we're in a season of collaboration. And because we were isolated and stagnated, this season of collaboration is accelerated. Linda, there's no way you're going to be able to do it by yourself. You're going to need people. You're going to need coaches that already have the road mapped out. So, you have friends, lifetime friends. You don't have to just kick them to the curb, but you just have to let them know you're moving on. Now, you may motivate them to move on, or move up. But at this particular time, you've got to think about you.
Wow. That's true self-care. That's true mental health.
True
Well,
mental health, true
mhm.
self-care. You've got to do you now because you're so worth it. And
Yes.
you can't grow and get to the next level all depleted and broken. You can't
Mhm.
do it.
Okay, so you talked about not being able to do it by yourself, and that's been my biggest aha moment this year is to learn how to delegate as a leader, to hire a team, because our business is only going to grow as large as we are able to accomplish tasks, and that's not very much because it's like you said, we get depleted. We get tired, we overwork ourselves. And so this year, my lesson has been delegation, surrounding myself by a team to support us to that I can trust. Trust is the biggest thing with our
Yes.
with our brand. So I've stepped away and I've delegated responsibilities to my assistant. The biggest thing for me is trust. I have to be able to trust her to accomplish those tasks without feeling like I need to think about it the whole time I'm away or, check in with a phone call. I want to have my peace and my sanity while I have stepped away from the business. And, my assistant is helping out. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure that I'm not the only one that has.
No, you are not the only one.
Okay.
Because I had a boss I used to work for, I felt like, "Oh, I'm a PhD, you're a PhD. If you give me an assignment, I think I got it." But they
Right?
were so, I don't know if it was trust. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was micromanagement. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a spirit of ease. In
Mhm.
order for you to achieve the spirit of ease or this anointment of ease, you've got to release. You got to release.
Yeah.
And not only is the trust that you're building in that person, but you have to trust yourself.
Yes.
See,
Yeah.
you think the problem is I not really trusting that she's going to be able to do what she's going to be able to
Mhm.
do. But guess what?
Mhm.
If you trained her
Yeah.
properly, she's going to be able to do what she's supposed to do. The trust is on you. You have to trust you to let it go.
It's good.
Okay.
That is.
Now, one of the things that I talk about when I'm talking about unmasking that
Mhm.
people can take and use right away is to reduce self-imposed stress. And that is part of delegating. But you
Mhm.
can't delegate and then turn around and do the work, oversee the work, call 12 times. What y'all doing? How y'all doing? Where you at? Take a picture of it, send it to me. No, you can't do that.
Oh,
You have to realize that the trust is trusting yourself. Okay.
so true.
Trusting yourself. And trusting, you make good decisions, good sound decisions that you've hired the right person. You've
Yeah.
trained them, you've hired the right person, you've
Mm.
you've observed them, let it go. Let
Yeah.
it go.
Michelle, I've hired quite a few people, and I've hired the wrong people on many occasions. They've started out good, started out excited, and it just seems like that when the time starts going by, the things start slipping. You find them on their cell phone talking to somebody while they working. You find them on the cell phone texting the whole time. While it's the cell phones that has been the main issue for us in our business because we don't try to micromanage our staff. But at the same time, you got to have some boundaries and you got to have some rules. And over a period of time, we've had to put those things in place when we hire them. But sometimes I find even putting them in place, and I think I made a good decision and hired someone that is going to work out. After by that third month, I really know whether it's going to work out or not. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. You said a key word,
Hmm.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries are very important. Um, and in business, we have to set professional boundaries. A lot
Hmm.
of times, we find people that work in the beginning and think, and then the boundaries get skewed a little bit. We're friends and we're not friends. So once the boundaries start to cross a little bit and you have rules in place and it's not consistently adhered to, then, you know, So that's a good thing. You put rules in place, make sure there's follow up on those rules, and it's consistent. It's like, if I say no phones and then you got a phone, okay, I'm not gonna say nothing this time. It has to be consistent across the board, and you have to set those boundaries. But I do understand that you can hire somebody that looks good, because the thing about it is, unfortunately, we hire people based on a piece of paper called resume or CV. And everything they write on that resume is not the truth all the time. Okay. But people are human.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And so that's what you'll find out over time. And you'll be able to observe and kind of weed out those folks that are not going to work at the level of quality and excellence that you're used to. And then you're just going to have to make that decision that they're going to have to go and just move on. But you will find some good people. But I mean, we're all human. You're going to come across a few. That's even with friends. You come across a few that I thought that was my friend. That's life.
This is true.
Yeah.
It's taught me a really huge lesson. I'm really particular about our brand. My husband calls me a perfectionist. And it's not that from my perspective, it's not that I'm a perfectionist. It's that I have a brand that if you buy a juice and you come back to get that juice the next time, you're buying it the second time because you want it to taste like the first time. And if there is a change in that formula, it's not going to taste the same. And so I'm very particular about the process of production and sanitization, making sure everything is sanitized and wiped down. And it's real, sometimes it's really challenging as a small business owner to know the difference between being a perfectionist and being a quality control person. And so I need you to give me some advice on that, because I want to maintain my mental health as it relates to that. And I don't want to feel like I have to be a perfectionist. I just would like for my customer to have the best experience ever, every time they buy our products. That's important to me.
Yes, it is. And it's your brand, just like you said. But what you're going to have to do, like, remember I told you, you're going to have to trust you.
Yes. Yeah.
You're going to have to, and I'm not saying, just accept anything. But you're going to have to realize that not only are the other people human, but you're human too.
Yeah.
And every day is not going to be.
That's really good.
Every day is not going to be a perfect day. I don't care how much it's going to be. It is just not going to be a perfect day. And thank God he gives us another day so that we can do it all over again. This time maybe closer to perfection.
I love
that.
that.
But perfection is something that you aim for day in and day out. You're going to always be frustrated because it's not achievable. Okay. Really coming close to it, or it's good. And some days you may make it, but it might not be every day. Yeah. But accept the gift that you have for that day, perfect or not.
That's good. That's true unmasking right there.
Yes.
That's true unmasking. Can you talk to the small business owners? I talk to a lot of people that are interested in starting their own business. They want to leave their jobs and they want to be a full-time entrepreneur. And I've really talked to them from a wisdom perspective, because I consider myself very wise. We've been in business since 2010. And I said, woo, be careful. That grass ain't always greener on the other side. You think that employee is getting on your nerves. That employer is getting on your nerves. Wherever you go, you take yourself with you. And so whatever you're dealing with there, chances are you're going to deal with as an entrepreneur times 10. And so make sure you clean all that up. Appreciate your job. Be thankful for it. That employer is your investor while you're there. Maximize that money and that training while you're there, and make sure you can get as much as you can from that employer, because you're going to take those skills and you're going to transfer those skills to your business. And so be thankful for that employer Don't, look at it as such a bad situation so much. So
Mhm.
what would you suggest to the folks that are just so excited and gun ho they want to start their own business and leave their job?
Well, you know what? The advice that you give them is excellent. It is
Mhm.
really excellent. But we have to remember that what you go through on your job before you become the employer is
Mhm.
preparation. And so we cannot discount our preparation because in order to get to the next level, and sometimes we're not elevated to the next level because we're not prepared. And we have to really think about being good stewards of the things. So take all the preparation that you can get because I can remember wanting to be where I'm sitting right now 10, 15 years ago and asking, well, Lord, why haven't you elevated me there? I've done this, that, and the other.
Yes.
But when I look back, I see that there was still some growing that I had to do. There were still some things I had to learn. And
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily from a book, it was from life,
Come on.
it was from experience
I love that.
that I had to learn so that when I got here, I was prepared to be here. And not only just prepared to be here, but to stay here.
Yes.
Okay. So it's
That's
no
good.
need to arrive if you're going back
Mhm.
next week. So
Yeah.
you have to think about that in terms of preparation and make sure that I have the staying power. Not only the staying power, the network of people to support me. It looks good, but like you say, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Not something that you can't do. It's all very possible, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So just make sure you are prepared.
So, talk to us about that network because one of the things that I've learned as a small business owner is I have to, a lot of times I have to work in the business, but also have to get out of the business and get out into the community and make some contacts with people in the community to let them know that we're here.
Absolutely.
I go to networking events. I have a desire to meet the mayor in Hampton. How do we balance that production versus getting out in the community and networking to make it so that it's manageable?
That is an excellent question because networking is so very, very important. But we do have internet,
Yes.
okay? And internet is the biggest way to network. I have just a network in Africa and Spain and all these other places, and I'm right here in Hampton, Virginia. And it's not that I took one trip, but I met really neat, great people, and I just grew that network from there. The one thing that COVID taught us is we could do so much virtually. Do you know how many people you could meet if you just uh, open it up and say, "Hey, I'm having a YouTube about my business"? I mean,
Mm.
because that's kind of the old-fashioned way, going from this place to that place to this place to because again, it's just like that being on that maze, that rat running, da 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 da. You can only do so much, and we are in a season of acceleration.
Yes, we are.
So you're going to have to use some of the networking that the internet allows, but
Mm.
face to face is still a good option. You know, I love human connection. I tell
Yeah.
people any day, I will run to a face to face class versus a virtual one. I
Me
get the energy from the people who are there, you know? So I love
too.
it. Yeah.
That's really good. My husband and I, we started doing lives on the social media platforms,
Yes.
and we've had so much success. I think that people just love the interaction right from the comfort of their home. I don't feel like we've mastered it, but every time we do it, I feel like we get better and better. Just using, and you know how it started? It was raining out one day. We had an event and it
Mhm.
was pouring down raining. Instead of going to the event because of the rain, we said, we're just going to go live and sell all this product right on the internet. And so we went live and, it wasn't scripted. We just did ourselves. It was very authentic and genuine.
That's my word, authentic and genuine. Go ahead.
We just showed up and did us. My husband was like, right before we went online, he said, "Babe, I'm just gonna follow your lead." I was like, "Okay."
Absolutely.
And it turned out okay, but that's just an example of what you're talking about, jumping on that internet instead of lugging all that product out into the car, loading it up, and then having to unload it again. So we have recently started using the tools of the internet, and I'm gonna tell you, Dr. Michelle, I'm gonna tell you, it has, you talking about mental health, it has helped us mentally, because by the time we load the car up and unload it and load it up again and unload, that's four times in and out. We are mentally and physically exhausted.
Yes.
We really are.
Yes.
And so to know that we can just jump on the live and stay on there for an hour. Sometimes we don't even stay on there for an hour and still have the same experience or better. It's just mind blowing.
Absolutely. And then you have the opportunity to be seen again and again and again, because people can replay, versus if you show up in person, that's a one-time, one-shot deal. So who doesn't show up there to see you, don't see you. But on the internet, we can click this 2 months from now, and there's Dr. Linda and Dr. Michelle.
Wow, that's beautiful. And, my husband said something earlier today. He said, the stuff that we're putting out here on this internet is there. We're making history. People will be able to go from the future and look back in today and see this, just like you just said. And I was like, wow, I never really thought about it like that. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm thinking down the road, my children's children can say, "Let me look at great grandma."
Oh my gosh. Wow. And I think about my grandbabies. If I had that video to show them of my mom's mom, I don't have that. In that time, they didn't have this kind of stuff. But yes. I wished I would have had something like this to show her of my grandmother, which is her great grandmother, in doing what she's passionate about, in Absolutely. Her passion, in her element.
Absolutely. And the great thing about YouTube and other sites, they help you see how you've grown.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you can look at that very first video and think, what the world? You know what I'm saying? And then, you can see as you've really grown, the background has changed, the hair changed, really. And so, it's a tool that you can use for training as well. I mean, you have your training tools, you have everything right here, versus you physically sitting in front of people and running here and running there. Use that internet. Anybody looking for a small business and celebrate, use the internet. Use it.
Beautiful advice. Beautiful advice. Thank you for that. I mean, it just takes a whole load of bricks off your shoulders. It really does. And one of the top 10 items as it relates to fear is public speaking. Getting in front of people, getting behind that camera. I remember when I started my business in 2010, oh my God, I did not want to be on video, did not want to be on the camera. And it took time over the years for me to get comfortable and get confident with getting behind the camera, getting in front of that camera and presenting myself to people. It's like I didn't want to let them into my world, if you will, into my home, into my space,
Right.
And I've gotten a lot better with that. And I had a conversation with my daughter who's in her 20s just today. She was feeling that same way. She's like, "Mommy, it's my personal space." I'm like, "But you're a realtor. You better get out there and share with people what you're doing." They want to know. People are inquisitive. We're living in different times. They want to know what you're doing when you're not a realtor. You working out? What are you doing on the weekends? People just want to know your story.
Yes. 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 I went to a retreat earlier this week, and one of the presenters was talking about, he said, you don't have to sell. You just have to tell your story.
Yeah.
I was like, I never really thought about it like that. Just tell your story. Why you do what you do. Why you make what you make. Why do you feel people need it? Just tell your story.
And it's amazing because our story, the Sweetheart Mitchell collection, we walked into church one day and our first lady, she said, "There are the Sweetheart Mitchells." And I was like, "Ooh, I like that name." And so that's how we got our name, the Sweetheart Mitchells. It just happened organically. And
Yeah.
then in our business, the Sweetheart Mitchell collection, I started making products for my husband, who's a former athlete. And he had aches and pains from all those, basketball bumps and bruises between the walls and the ground and other players. And they
Mhm.
started showing up as he got older. So I get in the kitchen and start putting together some essential oils to help with those, aching knees or aches in his hands. And then I got in the kitchen and started making some shea butter for his eczema on his elbows. And so it just organically happened. That's why we call it the Sweetheart Mitchell collection, because it's a collection of products that we use in our very own home. And, we're not trying to be big like Walmart or anything. We just want to master what we are sharing with the community to promote a healthy and happy lifestyle, for everyday living.
See, you just told your story.
Yeah. I love it. It gets easier and easier.
Yeah, you just tell your story. I mean, he just made it so simple. He said, "You just tell your story," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay."
Wow, that's really really good because it sounds easy though. It sounds easy to us, I believe, because we're at a point in our life where we could do it and not feel like my daughter. She doesn't like being. She said, "Mommy, I don't like being vulnerable. I don't like being transparent." I think was the word that she used
Mm.
because she said that it makes her feel uncomfortable you know and I'm like, the very thing that you don't like is the very thing you need to start being and doing, and
The
do it in
re-
a way where you put up some boundaries.
yes, but the reason she feels uncomfortable with being
Mhm.
transparent and just so people can see who she is vulnerable,
Mhm.
because she has to take the mask off to do that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. The mask keeps you comfortable. People
Mhm.
can't see the weaknesses, the doubt, the worry, the fear, the anxiety. They can't see any of that when you mask,
Yeah.
the vulnerability. So when you take that off and start showing people, this is the real Michelle and that's the real Linda,
Yeah.
some people can't do that. But you have to get to that point.
So that's an excellent transition because this right here is changing my life and my husband's life. Let's talk about your workbook and your book. Transforming your
Absolutely.
reality, removing the mask. Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, I started with the workbook. And so everybody's like, why do you want to start with the workbook? Do the self-help book, do the what? I said, no, because we are emotionally in a crisis, everybody. And we need to do the work now. We don't need to look at 3 videos, read 4 more books, listen
Yeah.
to a book. We need to do work now. And so the workbook gives you the opportunity to take your mask off
Yeah.
and start looking at some of the stuff that you have covered and some of the reasons why you have covered things up. And like I said, some of it, we were raised to survive. So we had to cover. I mean, who are you going to talk to about your pains and your this, that, and the other? It's like, oh, it's going to be all right. For some reason, and I always tell the story, whenever I would complain about something as a little girl to my dad, and I'm telling you, I had the best dad ever. He would always give me another story. Like if for some reason I was like, it's so hard at school, he was like, well, I had to wake up in the morning, pick strawberries at 3 o'clock in the morning, then I had to walk uphill in the snow, 6 miles to school and 6 miles. He just, but he never addressed what was going on with me, my fear,
Mhm.
my anxiety,
Yeah.
anything like that. So it was never addressed. So the book gives you the opportunity to uncover
Mm.
and address and see why you do what you do and understand um, that you have a whole lot of emotional baggage that you are not dealing with on a daily basis. I do a little activity where they can talk about their real true emotions. Because if you ask people, they're not angry, they're not depressed, they're not, but when they really start to go through this workbook, they are. They are.
Wow.
And you don't know it because you've masked it. That's all. And so
So
that's where the workbook is out.
So I'm thinking that this will be a perfect Christmas gift or a birthday gift or, just some gift as a term of endearment to someone that, not that I think needs to do the work, but like a reference, especially men, because a lot of times
Absolutely.
they're told to mask their feelings.
Absolutely.
They can't feel emotions. So my question to you is, do they have to be ready at some form or level to do this work, and accept that they may have a mask in order to do this? Or can I gift it to them and, maybe it'll help them to be aware of something that they're not aware of?
Absolutely. It's the second part. It
Okay.
is going to help them be aware of something that they are not aware of. Many of us don't really realize we may wear a mask 24/7 most of the time. They really don't. We really don't. And so when you use this book, you will find that you are masking a lot of things. And what happens is, I have a lot of people contact me and say, "Oh my God, I know why I am the way I am now." And I'll be like, "What do you mean?" We emotionally, we stop maturing at whatever age we experience real true trauma and abuse.
Mm.
We don't grow emotionally from that point. We don't mature from that point. And so I'll have, people say, well, she get upset, she act just like a kid, start throwing and da, da, da. That's because that's the emotional level she's at.
She's going back to that 9-year-old or that 8-year-old.
Absolutely, going right back to
Wow.
where that abuse start every time.
That's so
Every time.
interesting that you said that, Michelle, because when I worked in corporate America, oh my God, I'm not going to say the company that I worked at, but sometimes I would be like, this feels like a room full of children in adult bodies.
Yes. Yes.
It's like you think a person is an adult, but there really is a child leading.
Absolutely. They have all of this intellect, content wise, and maybe some academic stuff, but emotionally, they are 10 years old when daddy left or somebody molested them. They're right back there. They never matured past that point. And so this book helps you deal with some things that also put some resources in the back. So if you become really overwhelmed, if you're saying, should I feel this way? There are checklists, there are all types of things, there are assessments that you can look at and kind of, understand that this is just not you. This is most of the nation.
Wow.
Okay.
I can see the value in, I do inner child workshops, and I can see the value in having you join me in my workshops and talk about your workbook and do some of your exercises, because I always want them to walk away with tools that they can use in their everyday life to help them continue to work with that inner child. And men, oh my God, my heart goes out to our men, because women, we'll talk about it. We'll get together and have a glass of wine and it starts coming up and coming out, or we may just have a vulnerable moment and we can just share with one another. But men, they keep it in, they keep it inside. And I've experienced that with my clients where they just started telling me things that, that I'm like, oh, I need to get you to a counselor, or I need to get you to a therapist. I can help you with the Christian counseling piece of it, but it sounds like this is a lot deeper than that. When it starts coming up, they just really have been holding it in so long. It comes up like they just want to get it all out in that one session. And I tell them it's not, you can't rush that process. It's like an onion. The layers have to be peeled back and you have to feel what you're feeling.
Oh my God. Yes, that is a perfect. I've had people in the audience say, well, I went to this therapist, I went to 2 visits and nothing happened. Do you understand how much you've been covering for so long? 2 visits is not going to touch the surface
Come on.
It's a process. We're in this click and point and boop, there's the answer and the product and da-da. We are not that way. It is. It's like layers that you have to go through. So throughout the book, we assess, do you need to talk to someone? In fact, we actually say, if you're going to see a therapist, take your workbook with you.
That's good advice.
Because you've done so much work. It's not like you got to sit on the couch and start from zero. And you could just say, well, I was doing this workbook and the information is there. We also, Linda, do a companion journal because the workbook is just that, a workbook.
Right.
But the companion journal is something that you can keep close to your heart, close to your bed, something you want to write that comes to you, in the night or whatever, something that, the workbook other people may see. The companion journal is yours.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you offer coaching to your clients, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, any type of support?
I do workshops because it's more effective that way.
Yeah.
And then throughout the workshop, because one of the things I did in mental health was assessments. If I identify somebody that needs a little more than this workshop, I'll make a referral.
Yeah.
But I do have a workshop coming up January 21st.
Tell us about it.
It's with the nonprofit I Am Enough Retreat. And they can just go to that website. It talks about the workshop, where it's going to be held. The workshop, I don't know exactly what the fee is, but it includes the workbook and all the materials. We do a lot of hands-on, because my specialties and certification is with children.
Yeah.
So I know adults love sand trays and all of the other things that we do in the workshops. And I think my adults really love that more than the kids. So we do a lot of hands-on things to reinforce that level of peace and calmness.
That's awesome. In my inner child workshops, we do things like play jacks and jump double dutch and hopscotch and color in a coloring book, because a lot of us as children, we didn't have an opportunity to play and do some of those things. And it really brings that inner child out. You'll be surprised just putting bubbles or blowing bubbles in the room, how everybody just gets so happy just from seeing bubbles.
Absolutely. And you're right about that whole inner child piece, but that also connects with the level of emotional maturity.
Yeah, it does.
So I could see us doing a lot of work together, Linda.
And Michelle, I bet that you can identify when somebody's emotional age pops up. Like you could probably laser, you're like, okay, you're 8, you're about 9. You're about 7 right now. And that takes the edge off. When you can train a husband and wife on how to identify when that certain age pops up emotionally, or I can teach them how to identify that inner child, that little boy or that little girl that needs just a hug and some attention right now and needs to recognize. It takes that sting, if you will, off. That's the only word I can think of where, they might be angry in that moment. But if you can identify that right now, he's about 7. And,
absolutely,
he needs a hug more than he needs my mouth.
Right. I can't say what I really want to say. I'm going to just go ahead and hug him because at 7, he didn't get that hug that he needed in that moment. And you're right, that inner child, that emotional maturity level, all of it is together. It is together.
It certainly is. Well, we've got a few minutes left, Michelle. I do want folks to know how they can reach out to you and make sure that they can contact you. So can you share your social media platforms and how you would like folks to reach out to you?
Well, actually, the best way to get in touch with me is through my website, drmichelleBooneThornton.com. You can leave comments. I have vlogs there. I have podcasts, YouTubes. everything so that you can not only use the workbooks, but you can hear from other people how it's changed their lives.
Wow. Testimonies are absolutely the best.
Mhm.
Can you share with the audience what are some of the things that you're going to be doing in 2023? You already talked about your workshop coming up with the nonprofit I Am Enough.
Yeah, well, 2023, we're starting to put some things on on the calendar, and I have to keep reminding myself. You know, you have a full-time job at the university.
Yes, because you are a professor.
And so I will be back in Nairobi, Kenya, July 7th through the 17th. We're
Exciting.
going to be speaking over there and doing the business summit over there. That was just a wonderful time. And you can see all of that on my website. I'm also going to London in March, and we'll be speaking on that platform. I have other platforms that I'm speaking on with the university, but all of that is up on my website.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank you for coming tonight. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I would like to give you the platform to just share one last tip to the audience based on mental health for small businesses. Any last words for the audience?
Absolutely. This is one of my reducing self-imposed stress. Don't let other people dump their problems on you, because if you give them the advice and it doesn't work, now you have to fix it.
That's huge because people
Okay.
they like the dump.
Oh, yeah, girl, let me tell you what's going on.
Busy right now. I got to go.
Okay. I'm doing my business right now.
I am focused. But that is great advice. I want to thank you again for coming, Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton. This was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Woo! That was an amazing show. I was so excited to speak with Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton. And, you know, it just really played itself out so very well. The 25 years of mental health experience that she has offered to the community, as you can see, she's such a resource, a powerful resource. You know, the way she ended the show was incredibly powerful. Don't let other people dump on you. That's some really good advice, because a lot of times I don't know if people realize that they're actually dumping. I think a lot of times people think that they're venting, right, or they just want to get it out, or they just want to have someone to talk to about whatever may be going on in their life. But you have to protect your energy. You really do. You have to make sure that you're not allowing you know, someone to get on the phone with you or meet with you in person, tell you all their problems, and then you feel all weighted down and heavy mentally and emotionally because you've taken on their problems or tried to, you know, maybe offer solutions, or just feel, you know, extra heavy now that they, you know, dumped on you, as Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton said. It's really important to protect your energy and put boundaries up. You know, especially if you're a small business owner, it's important to stay focused on the things that matter, focus on the things that are important, and not get distracted through, you know, things like phone calls. You know, I personally had to, you know, cut down my phone conversations, cut down my TV time, cut down my movie time. There's not a lot of extra time, you know, for things like that, talking on the phone and watching movies and watching TV. And I don't watch the news. And I specifically don't do that because it drains you. I don't know who came up with this idea for, you know, just regular TV news that is so negative. You know, that's why I love the Black Business Network. It's absolutely amazing and powerful because we're doing things to change the world in our small businesses. We're doing things to change the community in our small businesses. And we're economically stimulating the community as Black business owners. And we're just doing great things by sharing our passion on this network with the community. And we're supporting each other and leveling up, if you will, going to the next level by being supportive of one another. That's one of the reasons why I love this network so much, because it's about empowerment. It's about, you know, working together lifting one another up, encouraging one another. And so I want to thank you for joining the show tonight. My guest, again, Dr. Michelle Boone Thornton. You can find her at drmichelleboonethornton.com. Please reach out to her, get her book. I highly suggest it. My husband and I both got copies of the workbook and her companion book, and we've already started working on it. We're going to allow ourselves to go through her material slowly, thoroughly, and just get as much value out of it as we can. So again, thank you for coming tonight. And in closing, I want to encourage you to come back next week. Same time, same place. I've got another amazing guest at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I am Dr. Linda Mitchell, also known as Dr. CMOS, and you can find me as well as my amazing health and wellness products on www.sweetheartmitchellcollection.com. And remember, I am Black business. From the time I wake to the time I sleep, I am Black business. Are you Black business? I am Black business. Please tune in for more shows about Black businesses. Genius is common, and I'll see you on the other side.
I am Black business. From the moment I wake until the time I sleep. Yes, I am Black business. I am Black business. Tell me, are you Black business? I am Black business. Do you support Black businesses? Listen, I support Black business because I am Black business. Black Business Expo, one of the largest business showcases in the history of Black business in the world. The world! Sign up today at www.blackbusinessexpousa.com or call 919-308-9090. I am Black business.